baseball podcast for Ballhawks by Ballhawks. Excuse me, I'm already messing up, and we're only in the first 15 seconds. Oh, this should be good. Anyway, we are your two hosts. My name is Mateo Fisher. The other person that I'm about to show is Larry Larson. So, Larry, what can we expect to give our viewers?
Well, every week is going to be a podcast at 10:30 Eastern Time, 7:30 Pacific. Now I'm messing up. We will talk about baseball topics tailored towards a Ballhawk audience. Today the show will be around 10 minutes, but every other show should be around 20 minutes.
Yeah, and also another thing is that this is the pilot episode. We're going to do this weekly, like you said, at 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific, and we want to get your feedback. So we are going to do like a sample podcast, which is going to be a little shorter than normal, but we'll also stick around for questions at the end. If anyone has questions and you have a Google Plus account, we have enabled the question and answer app, or you can just like tweet us if anyone is watching live, and we would love to answer your questions about the podcast because we know it's really not set in stone what it is, and we can also take your feedback and then make the podcast better as a result. So, jumping into the podcast, what we're going to start with is really a review of Miller Park. So I have gone to Miller Park a couple times, and Larry is a frequenter of Miller Park since he's in Illinois and really has the two Chicago ballparks and then Miller Park as his home stadium. So we're going to really weigh the BP pros and cons, game time pros and cons, and then give our own grades on Miller Park. So I think I'll start first. And the big thing that jumps out to me for BP at Miller Park is that you have Friday's Front Row Grill, which is the restaurant out in left field. Now, it's a pretty well-known fact in the Ballhawk community, but you can get into the stadium early through Fridays. So if you buy, when I was there, it was a minimum of $30 worth of food. You can stay there for as long as an hour, which works since BP usually starts 2.5 hours before game time and the gates open an hour and a half. And you have a shot at catching a few extra baseballs, and it really makes it a like semi 2.5 hour ballpark. A con is that the bleachers are not on the field level, so you're actually really on a second level, second deck bleacher when you're either in left field or right field. Left field is above Fridays. Right field, there is a first level bleacher, but really
it's under the second deck, so
yeah,
it makes it difficult for home runs to get
really
there.
Can't get any baseballs there. So if you want to catch anything, you're going to the second level or it's bust. For game balls, it's a decent home run park. Ballhawk Sean is famous for catching a ton of baseballs or a ton of game homers at Miller Park. He's in Toyota Land, which is in right center, which is a semi-standing room section with a few obstructions. Bleachers aren't, again, not really good for game home runs. They're just bleachers that are in the second level. But what I really like about game balls at Miller Park is there's a cross aisle in the second deck in foul territory. So it's about the right distance and height for you to catch foul balls. A ton of them go back there. I actually have a picture where there's just a ton of markings on there. The caveat is it's a semi-expensive section, and so you can't always get in there. And I tried sneaking in there once, got in there, but then an usher, there are constantly ushers on that cross aisle checking for tickets, so one asked me and kicked me out. But besides that, I'm going to have to go... Actually, Larry, you talk, and then we'll both give our grades at the end. So, Larry,
Right.
Go ahead. What do you think?
For BP, Fridays definitely is pretty convenient because you can there's a gate in Fridays that gets you into the stadium, so there's usually not much of a line in that gate. And because there's usually huge lines at the other gates. And then after Fridays, the bleachers usually do have quite a bit of competition on evening games. There's Ballhawk Sean and a few others that are always there. Um, Left or right field is pretty difficult unless you're going for toss-ups because second deck is right above the field level and no home runs go to the first deck. It's either second deck or bullpen, and that's kind of frustrating. And with the bullpen, they hate the glove trick. It's basically completely outlawed. You'll get yelled at if you try it, so just don't even bring it. It's not worth it. Um, Toyota Toyota territory is good for BP, for toss-ups, and for home runs. Um, the right field second deck is pretty steep, so it's hard to go up and down, so you mainly have to stay in one row. And then for game, it's really kind of hard to get down by the dugouts for third out balls because they have like luxury boxes right along the first and third base lines. So there are no steps that go directly right behind the dugout. So you have to enter kind of behind home plate to get past ushers. So that's kind of hard. And then for foul balls, like you said, that's probably the best spot in the whole majors to get foul balls.
Yeah.
You probably get 5, depending on the day, 5 to 10 back there. Because the other day I just saw, like, it was all over the news, some kid got 2 in one game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's pretty much
Yeah, and
for ball hawking.
so I would actually classify this as a above average place to go. I mean, maybe you'll agree, but an above average place to go, like, as a visitor, because you can get into Fridays, you can splurge for a foul ball ticket, and actually what I experienced when I was there was I got away with the glove trick a couple times. I had some ushers looking at me, but they didn't recognize me. I never even got approached about it.
Yeah. One thing I forgot to mention was in Fridays, you can't get caught with a glove trick. It's pretty hard because there aren't ushers patrolling everywhere, and the waiters and waitresses really don't do anything about it.
Yeah, no, definitely. What happened with me was actually in the right field bullpens. I tried it a couple of times, and no one said anything. I actually tried it from the second deck, so the second deck bleachers down into the bullpens, and no one said anything. I was surprised when I was on the first deck. I got a couple of looks from people in Toyota territory. But if you're a regular there, you can't really spend like $30 every day at Fridays unless you're doing a group where you're splitting the bill, and you're not going to be able to buy tickets in foul ball territory every day either. But I would call it an above average visitor ballpark. Overall, I would give it a grade of a B as both a ball hawk and a fan. So, I mean, it's a retractable roof. It's not a great looking stadium. It's nothing special, but I mean, I think about a B is right for you. Now, Larry, what did you think about grades wise?
Well, grades wise for Ballhawk, I would probably have to give it a B minus. For being a regular there, I mean, they all look at Ballhawks as evil people. They get harassed by ushers constantly. If you're a visitor there, it's a lot easier, definitely. As a fan perspective, I'd probably have to give it a B plus because it's always a great atmosphere. In Wisconsin, when you're walking through the parking lots, there's tailgaters everywhere.
Yeah.
Friendly for the most part, but there are a lot of people drunk.
Yeah, that's
when it comes in the middle of the game.
Okay. Yeah, that's another big thing about Miller Park is it's huge for tailgating. Like, I've never seen more tailgaters at a baseball game. But so it was B minus as a ball hawk, and then what was the fan grade?
B plus.
B plus. Yeah, I would agree. I could see that. And now, so that's it for the Miller Park segment. I actually have one quick other segment. I know we're a little over time. Is Milestone Tracker. So this is a semi-regular segment that we're going to do. It's just a quick update on players who are nearing significant milestones that maybe could be caught as a home run. So Ichiro is actually about to get on to 50th all-time in terms of being a hits leader, which could potentially be a home run for Ichiro. Probably not the most likely candidate to hit one out for a milestone like that. That said, Pablo Sandoval is 2 home runs away from 100 home runs. The projected date for that is June 24th. Michael Morse is at 96 home runs, and the projected date for that is July 7th, or sorry, July 8th. Both of them, I think, could do it quicker, but those are the projected dates by MajorLeagueBaseball.com. Pedro Alvarez is at 97 home runs, and he is projected to hit 100 on June 22nd, which, well, that sounds about right. He can hit them at that rate. But anyway, thank you everyone for joining us. And if anyone has Google Plus accounts that are still around, feel free to ask us questions. Otherwise, I know you're probably not going to see this if you aren't watching live, but for everyone, this will be available recorded like 15 minutes from now on YouTube. If you couldn't make it live, I'll be tweeting out that link. And again, this will be happening every Sunday from 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific, and probably going to be longer than this, so we can include more segments. I have a huge list of stuff.
And we usually have a guest every week, too.
Yeah, no. So what we'll also have is a guest. So it will be pretty much weekly. So we have 2 guests lined up for the next 2 weeks. Next week, it will be Alan Schuster, the webmaster of MyGameballs.com, joining us, answering questions about My Game Balls, how it became, what his idea was, and also we're planning on doing some segments with Alan that may or may not involve some debate. But anyway, thank you for joining us, and again, if anyone has questions and answers, feel free to throw them at us. If not, we're just going to go off the broadcast and see you next week.
All right, that one pretty good.
Yeah, we're still on the air.
Yes, I know.
Oh, going once, going twice. See you next week.